Of course, the surest way to protect the taxpayers' money is not to take so much of it in the first place. The best way to keep government accountable is to limit its power to regulate our economy and our lives. And in the coming months, I will be setting forth my plans for tax and regulatory reform on a scale we haven't seen since the Reagan years. And I will be outlining my ideas to reform the major entitlement programs and provide a replacement for Obamacare. Not to keep you in suspense. Not to keep you in suspense, but the objective in both cases is to bring government back within the consent of the governed so that it truly serves the national interest instead of catering all too often to special interests. After all, it's the relentless expansion of government that made lobbying Washington's premier growth industry. Spending on lobbying has risen by more than 45% in the past decade, translating to, get this, $12.5 million per member of Congress at last count. Yeah, exactly. Restrain federal spending and the bureaucratic meddling and will disrupt the culture that thrives on big government. I know how that culture works. I saw it here in Tallahassee. Over time, lobbyists and legislators grew a little too comfortable in each other's company, cutting deals that didn't have much to do with the public interest. So along with the other changes we made, the Florida legislature passed a law that I signed into law that created the strictest lobbying reforms in the country. And I was proud to sign that into law, and I think the system is significantly better after that law was passed. Even before I took office, I signaled a new way of doing business by forbidding lobbying by any member of my transition team. As governor, we ended the practice of lawmakers accepting gifts from lobbyists. The reforms I signed into law also required lobbyists to disclose information about their clients and their compensation. The lobbyists here were a little grumpy to begin with, but now I've noticed that it's actually turned into a competitive deal where they show that they have more business, I think, and they're proud of the fact that they have a thriving business. It's kind of interesting how markets work. In that spirit, we need to reform disclosure laws in Washington as well. Here's what I propose. Every time a lobbyist meets with any member of Congress, that should be reported online every week on the member's official website. That should include, by the way, the ambiguous class of consultants who lobby but call it something else. The definition of the term lobbyist should be expanded to address the cadre of government relations and government affairs specialists now populating the Capitol as well. Then there's the pattern of so many outgoing members of Congress who quickly become lobbyists themselves, as if merely moving on to the business end of the same enterprise. We need to help politicians to rediscover life outside of Washington, D.C., which, who knows, might even be a pleasant surprise for them. Look, the great majority of the people that serve in these positions do it with great talent, and they do it with integrity. And they can make a huge contribution to the communities in which they were serving. And I believe that they should be doing that rather than translating this and staying in Washington and trying to translate their experience into high gain. If I'm elected president, I will use all of my influence to enact into law an immediate, unequivocal 6-year ban on lobbying, a full Senate term for ex-members of the House and the United States Senate.